I started to think back and say, how did I get through all that stuff and still elevate all the time? I didn't just survive, I started to thrive. And it was because I was taking everything. When I wanted something, I went and got it. And the reason I got it is not because I'm spoiled and it was handed to me. It's because I realized that I would take everything that would stop or slow me down, or was designed to do that, apparently, and I would store it in my tank instead of my trunk. And most people keep all this toxicity, discouragement, setbacks, like roadblocks. They keep all that toxicity in their trunk. If you think about a car and the trunk's weighed down with a lot of weight, the frame of the car is going to ride on the tires and slow the car down. Maybe even pop the tires and make the car stop. I don't want that to happen to me. So what I did was I put it in my my tank, and I converted it into rocket fuel. That's the name of the book. And I become unstoppable. And that's what I did my whole life. Like somebody started shit with me, or because I moved a lot when I was a kid and going to different schools, or somebody said I couldn't do something or made fun of me for doing something or whatever the case was. I'm like, all right, cool. And I took it, converted it, and that makes me go faster and farther. Now, as you get into your personal development and then you get to a certain point where you refine your engine, that toxicity doesn't work as good anymore. It's not as powerful as you need for your refined engine. So you kind of need a new higher octane fuel, so to speak. And that is the belief system that you develop through personal development, where you're able to think bigger and really imagine. And that imagination and those visions and things that you start to see, that you start to go after, that's your new fuel, and it pulls you faster and further.
Welcome my guest, Mike C-Roc. He is a performance coach, author, dynamic public speaker, visionary, and thought leader. He has been featured on Yahoo Finance as one of the top business leaders to follow in 2020 and is on a mission to help build people. C-Roc has a fierce desire to compel people to see greatness inside themselves using past life events to fuel their fire. C-Roc has mastered the ability to zero in on the linchpin of an organization and has helped many businesses exceed their initial goals and expectations. He is consumed with the passion to help people break free from the confines of complacency and propel to untapped levels of success. No stranger to setbacks himself, C-Roc has built a highly successful mortgage division with his best friends twice. In 2020, he was named #1 on the list of top mortgage professionals by Yahoo Finance. Whether it's in his business partnerships, employees, clients, or anyone looking to excel their business, personal life, or develop a winner's mentality, C-Roc is ready for the challenge. I have the honor on bringing on C-Roc, Mike C-Roc. I love your name. I know it's not, okay, I know you have a different last name, but we're just going to go with C-Roc. But how do you pronounce your last name? Just so we know, just so we were
Ciorrocco.
Ciorrocco.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really fun. Mike C-Roc. So welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Erica. I appreciate you having me, and I appreciate the listeners or watchers, whatever. I appreciate all of them showing up too, because it means the world to me to have people listen to me when I talk. So I'm humbled by that.
Well, amen. I mean, as the host, just for people to come on the show and tune in to this specific episode means a lot to me too. So I appreciate all the listeners as well. And I know we're going to unpack a lot of goodness today, because I know you are a man that stands behind a mission that you ask this question: what are you made? What are you made of? What are you made for? And your mission, what are you made of?
I've wrote it on the wall in case you forgot.
There you go. So what are you made of? And I think that's a question that a lot of people don't ponder on. They don't think like, oh, am I tapping my fullest potential, right? I think a lot of people are kind of just going through life, living it as it comes and really not stretching themselves to reach their highest potential. And I know your mission is to really create unstoppable people so that they really live their fullest potential. So we'll go deep into that. But of course, I want to know, so I imagine, as all people, a lot of us live somewhat a victim to our circumstances. I think not, I know part of your story, you didn't really fall into that too much, but I believe there must have been some point in your life where you felt possibly a victim to your circumstances, but yet you chose to rise above them. And I think a lot of people struggle to rise above them when they're in in the trenches of the depths of their despair, if you want to say. So I would love to hear your story of how did you discover that you were able to live past your limitations and get out of possibly a victim mindset if you once had that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I come from brokenness, like surrounded by brokenness, broken home. I don't remember my parents ever together, alcohol, drugs, suicide, depression, like all kinds of stuff, right? I don't know why I was born into that, and it doesn't matter to me. So I just was in that situation, and I couldn't wrap my head around why people wanted to live that way. Like, what was so bad about life? And as I've grown and I got into my 40s and started really studying people and spirituality and the mind and I understand it all now. But back then I didn't understand. And I just also noticed as a young child that people were telling themselves a story all the time. They would always share why they drink, why they need medication, why they feel this certain way. And then they were just painting this picture and agreeing with something. And when you agree with something, that becomes your reality. And so I realized that at a young age, and I'm like, you just got to tell yourself a different story. You're telling yourself why you're going to be like that. And I didn't know the how that worked back then or anything. I just knew that that's what was going on. So then I needed to tell a story of why I was going to be successful if I was going to tell them that, right? And so that's kind of how I got out of it. And then there's sometimes still, like, I don't get to talk to my dad still. He doesn't see my kids. And it's not my choosing. But I don't think about it much. I think that's the key. Like, what you focus on is what you most of the time experience. And I just don't focus on it. Like, I think most people focus on their victimhood. They focus on what happened to them. I focus on where I'm going and what I'm going to do and who I want to be. And everything else starts to fizzle in the background. Now, Erica, there are times, like the other day, my dad's birthday was on January 1st. And I texted him and he didn't text me back. I texted him happy birthday, whatever. And he didn't text me back. And then it really kind of hit me for a moment. And I had my attention on it. And I was like, damn, I can't even believe you can't even get a text back from someone. Like, they're that wrapped up in what's going on, which I'm not, my stepmother, it's deep, right? And I was like, I just can't even, I can't imagine my son texting me happy birthday and I don't respond to him, right. And so I try not to focus on the stuff. And I sometimes think, well, should I be focused on it? But then I say no, because it's helped me get out of it and not it doesn't hold me back. So, I don't know the right way except for what I've experienced, and I call it the C-Roc experience. I just talk from my experience, what works for me.
Yeah. Well, I know that, and thanks for sharing that story, because I think it's very easy for people to take it personal. Like, one of the 4 agreements is don't take things personal. And I think a lot of us, when we're in a situation, whether it be the way you grew up in your experience, so many of us take it personal. Like, what did I do wrong? Or why doesn't he want to text me back? Like, what's wrong with me? And it's really hard for somebody to get out of that mindset when they start kind of spiraling down into it. So how did you really rise above your challenges? Like, what do you feel was the attributes you cultivated to move out of those victim mindset? Because let's say somebody is feeling that way, like they're feeling overwhelmed by their circumstance. They've had a hard last year, whatever it may be, and they're trying to transition into a really powerful year, but there's still things that are holding them back.
Well, I would go back to, what do you focus on? What are you focusing on, and what do you want? What you focus on will develop your future, define your future. And I really get with people and talk about, like, what do you want? Like, in a perfect world, what would you really want? What would the story be that you would write about yourself? And then get clear on that. Now, when you focus your attention on that and what you want, that's how you get out of it. But when you're not doing that and you're focusing on all these other things, that's what's going to grow. And we've heard this all the time, but we have only so many attention units to use every day. And you need to choose those attention units, or choose the things to put your attention units on that you want, not what you don't want. And for me, I read a story every day. I read a story about a guy, which is me, about what I want, no limits. It's like I'm a screenwriter, a producer, and then I act it out. And so I write this 8x11. So for those that are watching, I'll show you. There's an 8x11 notebook I have here. You can't even read the handwriting. That's okay. But you can see how the scribble there. I just write one page every morning. One page every morning. Like you can see right there. One page every morning.
Yeah.
All about this guy, what he wants, what he does, who he hangs out with, what people think of him, how much money he brings in, what he's accomplished. And then I go live that freaking story. Some people
That's
say, what's
amazing.
freaking mean? I don't know if I was allowed to cuss on the show, but I cuss a little
No,
bit.
you could
so.
go for it. It's okay.
Yeah. So like, I just go live it all out. Like I don't, and then if, like I focus on what I want, it just helps me clearly focus on that instead of anything else. And then what I notice is all the stuff that I was concerned with before just fizzles away. Then I'll get on a call with someone and I'll talk to them and I'll say, hey, listen, what's going on in your life? What's new and exciting with you right now? And they'll start talking and then they'll have an idea for me and this and that. And I'm like, it's so weird. I just wrote a story about that this morning. And then they're talking about something and an idea they have for me that's speaking to the story that I wrote. Now, they probably would have said the same thing if I didn't write the story, but I might not have paid attention to it because I believe everything's there already. We just, like our beliefs or whatever we're focused on are pulling us away from the diamonds that are around us.
So true.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I don't know if you're a Tony Robbins fan, but I am. And he always says he shares this one story when you're driving down a road and let's say the passenger says like, don't hit that tree in front of you. Like you're going so fast, you're going to hit that tree. And of course, what does he do? He hits the tree because he's focusing on the tree.
Yeah,
so it's the same thing. It's exactly, you don't see it until like it comes into mind sight and then you're focusing and hyper focusing on it. So I love that you do that every day. You're like stepping into that person you want to become every single day. So what is, your podcast, what are you made of? What's like if you were to ask that to an everyday person, do you find that most people don't have that answer?
Yeah, I think they have it. Well, here's the thing. So first of all, I talk to myself a lot, Erica. I don't know if that's crazy or not. Some people get crazy with it and they talk to themselves and out loud. Sometimes it's quiet. I talk to myself. And one of the things I always say is, what are you made of? When I'm going through tough times, or if I want to take things to the next level, I remind myself of what I've been through. And that's the ingredients that have gone into making me who I am. So I think if we remember things that we've survived in the past and to get to where we are right now, it helps us deal with what's in front of us right now. And so for me, that's the question I ask. What are you made of, man? What are you made of? Like, what have you, like, look at all the things you've been through. As a kid, I went through child support, custody battles, parents fighting, all the stuff that I've been through. And I had to go to court cases and child psychologists to see if I was mature enough to make a decision who I wanted to live with. A lot of kids deal with this stuff, but I went through all this and I'm like, this customer that's in front of me that's irate about something or an employee problem, this is nothing. That's not that. Like, this is easy compared to the stuff I went through when I was a kid. So that's why I say that. And I think it's important to remember what we've survived, what we've made it through, because that helps us know that, like, we got here. We survived everything so far.
Yeah. And then you always say, use your setbacks for rocket fuel. So can you kind of like walk us through what does that mean to you and how can people really implement that in their life?
So I wrote this book, Rocket Fuel, Convert Setbacks, Become Unstoppable. And the reason I wrote this book is because I found something out when I got into my 40s. I started to think back and say, how did I get through all that stuff and still elevate it all the time? I didn't just survive, I started to thrive. And it was because I was taking everything. When I wanted something, I went and got it. And the reason I got it is not because I'm spoiled and it was handed to me. It's because I realized that I would take everything that would stop or slow me down, or was designed to do that, apparently, and I would store it in my tank instead of my trunk. And most people keep all this toxicity, discouragement, setbacks, like roadblocks. They keep all that toxicity in their trunk. If you think about a car and the trunk's weighed down with a lot of weight, the frame of the car is going to ride on the tires and slow the car down. Maybe even pop the tires and make the car stop. I don't want that to happen to me. So what I did was I put it in my my tank, and I converted it into rocket fuel. That's the name of the book. And I become unstoppable. And that's what I did my whole life. Like, somebody started shit with me, or because I moved a lot when I was a kid and going to different schools, or somebody said I couldn't do something or made fun of me for doing something, or whatever the case was. I'm like, all right, cool. And I took it, convert it, and that makes me go faster and farther. Now, as you get into your personal development and then you get to a certain point where you refine your engine, that toxicity doesn't work as good anymore. It's not as powerful as you need for your refined engine. So you kind of need a new higher octane fuel, so to speak. And that is the belief system that you develop through personal development, where you're able to think bigger, and really imagine. And that imagination, that those visions and things that you start to see, that you start to go after, that's your new fuel, and it pulls you faster and further.
I love that. I love that analogy. Number one, I love how you speak of it as fuel and where are you putting it and what are you using it for? That's amazing. I know that going back to Tony Robbins, he talks about the 2 millimeter rule, which is basically those people, which there's far and few between these type of people that don't go just for good, they go for great, extraordinary. And it's that little shift they make in their life, those little decisions and they keep going after it. Like they don't settle for like this failure didn't happen or whatnot. So talking about that, if you were to take yourself back, because I know you've created massive success in a lot of things that you've done, which we haven't really touched on yet, but if you were to speak to the person that is, we're stepping into a new year and they want to create massive success. A lot of people want quick results, right? So if you were to go back to before you created success in a lot of the things you've done, what would be like 3 steps initially? Because if we're talking about personal development, the beliefs and everything, I imagine that's going to be one of them. But if you were to say to that person that's either trying to propel to the next level in their business or start something new this year, what would you say like the initial steps they should really focus on?
Well, I'll answer that, but let me just mention something on the great thing. Like I have a shirt on right now for those watching. It says good enough isn't good enough. Like I think a decision, just a simple decision with the fact that I want to be a wow person. I want to live a wow life. I want to have wow businesses. I want to be a wow father and husband, friend. I just decide that, and the fact that I also decide that life is not worth living and a business isn't worth having unless it's a wow business and wow life. And it's just a decision. And then once you make that decision, then everything you do, your thoughts, words, actions, and your environment start to go towards that direction. And it doesn't take much. And Tony's right. It doesn't take much. It's just a simple decision. Now, the 3 steps I would say really come down, and I like to make things simple. Okay. Clarity. Very clear vision of what you want as a GPS coordinates for your directions where you want to go. And it doesn't have to be set in stone. It doesn't have, like, it can change, okay? But you need to have some kind of start of what you want. And that's the story that I write every day. Like, what do I want? And I don't put any limitations on it. But the first thing is clarity on that. The second thing is commit to it, which is where your decision comes in. And then from there, it's just consistent actions, words, thoughts, actions, environment. Like, it's just consistency after that, which can get boring. Consistency is boring, but that's what gets the job done. So I say the 3 C's, clarity, commitment, and consistency is what really, that's the basics and the foundation of everything.
I completely agree. That's so true. And, you're a fellow podcaster as well. And I know when you got into it, you probably didn't know like what would come out of it. I think you probably just went into it because it was something you're passionate about and you're like, this is another avenue of my business. But so many people, let's say, I'm giving an example of starting a podcast, they'll start it and then they won't get, if you want to say, reap the rewards early on, let's say 6 months in, and they'll quit because they're like, oh, I don't know if it's worth all my time. But sometimes it's like you need to just push over that edge to really see the success. So what would you say to that person that like quits before they even like have the chance of succeeding? You know what I mean?
Well, I think that when you get clear on what you want and you put that out into the future, right? It's out there. Like, this is what I want. You tie it in motion. Like, what is it going to feel like when I get that? Right. And that's all you start focusing on. And then what happens, like, I'll give you a story here. 2019, I was grinding so hard in my local market here in this little town I live in. And I was working with real estate agents and trying to help them grow their business because they would send their clients to our mortgage company. And I was making, I've made millions in the mortgage and real estate space. I live a good life. I have a house right here on the water, Ocean City, nice pool, awesome studio that's in here. Like, you guys could see this. It's like an awesome man cave right by the pool. Beautiful wife, married 20 years, kids are healthy, good life, right? But I just wasn't fulfilled, and I felt like there was more. I had more potential, and I wasn't using it, and it bothered me. And so it felt like I was grinding to get known in this local market, and I felt if I choose the same energy, the same grind, and just refocus it on something bigger and start thinking bigger, I think I could really make an impact on this planet and also get known. And then so I started thinking, like, how can I get known? Should I get known bigger in the state that I live in, or the region, the Mid-Atlantic region, maybe the country? No, you know what? Let's just go global. Let's just say we're going to get known globally. Matter of fact, aliens and UFOs were starting to be talked about on the news in Congress. And I'm like, well, shit, if there's aliens, let them get to know who C-Roc is too. So I wanted to get known, but I had to think, okay, what am I going to get known for? Well, I just had to fairly clearly define my mission. Now, this is going to answer your question. So I clearly define my mission to be all people are unstoppable to live in the life of their dreams. And I filter everything through that mission, and it made it very clear, very little confusion, because anything that came my way, it's like, does it serve the mission? Does it go towards the mission, or does it go away? And I eliminate everything that doesn't, right? And so having that, all of a sudden a dude asked me to come on his podcast. And I was like, I don't even know what a podcast is. I don't have the equipment. And his name's Chris, and he asked me to come on. He's like, no, you're coming on my show, and I'll show you how to do everything, and I'll give you a list of things. You don't need much. Just get things. So I go on there, and he's interviewing me, and I'm like, well, shit, this is fun. He made me feel like a celebrity. Like I was like, wow, this is cool. And I got hooked. And I realized that podcasting is the way to get known globally. And so I told my assistant, I'm like, listen, I want to get on as many shows as I can. I don't care what the genre is, the topic. I don't care. I want to go, because I knew I could get reps in. And even if they didn't have audiences, it didn't matter, because I wasn't, like if I wasn't good and I didn't feel good about what I was doing right away, like I didn't want an audience anyway. So I was just go, and I did over 400 episodes in the last 3 years on other people's shows. I started my own show, and I did over 300 episodes of my own show in the last 3 years. And so that's 700 some shows. So I leaned into it, right? So I could talk about quitting. I could talk about not getting results right away, because I did that. And I wanted results right away. I was impatient. But I knew that my focus was on the mission. At the end of the day, I wanted to get known globally. And I knew that in order to do that, I had to go through some things. So I think what the answer to your question, the long answer here is, they don't think big enough. They don't think big enough. And then they don't get excited about whatever this vision or their mission is. I get excited about it. Like I get up out of the bed every day because I need to go help people become unstoppable. So I think that's what the key is. And you got to, your mission and your vision's got to be big, man. It's got to be something that gets you excited, and you're willing to go through some things. And, and understand that as you go through, things compound and they add up over time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so good. I love that. And what helps you maintain your momentum besides your vision? Do you have like a solid morning routine, or like how do you structure your days to support your success that you're trying to obtain?
Well, first of all, the things that keeps my momentum going is that I remember what it's like to start, and I don't like that. Like anytime you start anything, like pushing a rock up a hill, it takes like so much effort. And I don't like that feeling. Now I'll do it if I have to. I mean, there's times where I got to restart my businesses sometimes because of things happening, but I don't like it. So I just remember what that feels like, and I know that I don't want to go there. That's why I don't stop going to the gym. I don't stop lifting. I don't stop doing cardio, because I remember what it feels like when you stop. It's hard to do pull-ups. You get winded just going up steps. Like, I don't want to go back to that. So that's what helps me keep my momentum going. As far as routine goes, like I work out every single day. I just believe that I need to take care of all dynamics. And what I mean by dynamics is like, you got yourself, you got to take care of yourself, right? Then you have your family and your wife and or spouse or partner. You got to take care of them. If you don't take care of yourself, you don't take care of your family, you're not going to do good at work. Then you got to take care of your work, your business or whatever. And then you got to take care of the groups and people that you're involved with, and so on, all the way up to your spirituality. So I believe in like thinking about all these things. I need to make sure that my decisions all cover all the best decision for all these dynamics. That's the way I think about it. And I've been taught this way, and it works. So when I feel like I used to drink a lot, Erica. I used to do drugs when I was in my early 20s, smoked a lot of weed. Not encouraging that. I'm just telling you what I did. I partied. Matter of fact, I didn't drink until I got to college. Then I got to college because I came from a small town, and I saw women and parties, and I was like, holy cow, this is cool. Like, and I gave into whatever that was, right? And before you know it, though, you go down a dark path, and everybody else starts to go on their own ways, go to work, and then you're stuck in this party area with people that are just not focused, and they're in the wrong thing. And then I contributed to that because I take responsibility. Like, I started contributing to other people because I'm not doing what I need to do. And so what I think about now is, I didn't think about this before, is I have this mission. Does drinking help me get to that mission? Does partying help me get to that mission? I used to hang out at bars like for football, watch football games all day on Sunday, eat wings, all this stuff, and just hang out and nothing else. I'm like, what was I thinking? I look back at that. So every decision I make now goes towards the mission, and it helps me. I might have a drink a week, maybe two, never at the same time. Like I like the taste of margaritas and beer occasionally, but I don't like the feeling it gives me. I don't do drugs. I used to, think it was okay to just smoke marijuana once in a while or take some gummies because maybe sleep better, this and that. None of that stuff appeals to me anymore because I know it takes me off my mission.
Right. And
I forget what the question was, but I'm just telling you I think it was about keeping momentum, right? Keeping momentum and routine. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just so in such a good place right now with my decisions that not everybody when they hear this can relate to it because I remember I didn't relate to some of this stuff at the time.
I think you're in complete. I was going to say I think it's because you're in complete alignment. Like you're in alignment with your mission. You're in alignment with the steps you need to take every day to have your healthy body, to have a healthy mindset, to have healthy relationships. Like everything is in alignment because you have, like you said, having that compelling mission, like that big, big goal, that everything kind of aligns with that. So I think that's important. I think that's the big question that people need to ask. Like, what really is it that you want? What are you going after? What is going to fuel you in your life?
Yeah, because if you don't know it, then you don't have any direction. And then what happens is you're going to do stuff that other people want you to do instead of what you want. And then usually that's destructive, by the way. So you can create or destroy. It's your choice. You will not destroy when you're not creating. And, when you're creating, you want to create what you want to create, right? Like you don't want to create something somebody else wants.
Absolutely.
And so I think there's so many different like ways to look at it, perspectives to look at it. But we're put here on this planet to create, and we need to be intentional with what we create. I think it's important to understand that because if you're not intentional, get really clear on that, then you will follow somebody else. You'll be a sheep, or like you've seen this video of these ants that circle, the death spiral ants. They're blind and they have sense to follow other ants. And once one ant starts to go in circles, they all start going in circles until they die. There's a video about this, the death spiral.
Oh, really? I need to look at that video. That's crazy.
Most people are living that life.
Yeah, it's so true. Okay, so let's talk about confidence. I love asking people about confidence. So obviously to live an unstoppable life, you need to be confident. Like you need to be confident in what you bring into the world. You need to be confident in what you're able to bring into the world. So how do you feel people could build confidence when they yet to have confidence in what they're going after?
This is very simple too. Take action. Just move towards the direction of your vision. Just take action. The more action you take, even if it's the wrong action, the more confidence you'll get. Now, the other thing is people need to understand they've been told their whole life not to be full of themselves, not to be cocky, not to be, get too much attention. I have a saying that it's better to be full of yourself than empty. And so when you take enough action, you're confident, you start to believe in yourself, you start saying like, I'm the person that I would bet on. Like I wouldn't bet on anybody over me. I'm built for this shit. Like I got this. And you start talking to yourself and saying these things and be full of yourself and let other people that have a problem with that deal with that. Like that's their problem if they have a problem with you being full of yourself. Because here's the thing, when you're full of yourself and you start taking enough action, you'll start getting results. And what happens is the people that say stuff to you like, hey, you're cocky, man. You're full of yourself, this and that, right? And if you don't let it bother you and you keep doing you, they'll come back. They'll do one of two things. They'll come back because they'll be interested in what you're doing and then they'll want to be a part of it because it creates an attraction model when you win. Or they won't want to be around you because it bothers them and you don't want those people around you anyway. So you win either way. So I don't have a problem with if I'm confident, I'm full of myself, I know I can accomplish whatever I need to accomplish. And if somebody has like that man, that's C-Roc, man. He's humble a little bit, but I mean, he's full of himself. Yeah, I agree with him.
But at least you believe in yourself and you go after what has been placed on your heart. So there's something to be said for that.
Well, 100%.
And it's not conceited at all. Like there's nothing conceited about it. It's just really, it's really standing in your worth, to be honest. Like, you're deserving.
What's the definition of conceited though? Let me look at this real quick while we're here. Because I like looking up definitions because Conceited. All right, let's see. All right, so conceited, excessively proud of oneself. You know what? I have to say I'm conceited because I am damn proud of myself of all the stuff that I've accomplished.
Why is that a negative thing? Actually,
I don't see that being a.
That's so interesting. It doesn't like. I think you should be proud of yourself. You should cheer yourself on. I think we need to. I talk about this sometimes. It's like one of those big things is celebrating your small wins. Like you should celebrate the shit out of yourself because it takes a lot to sometimes do something that is hard or do something you don't know, do something that's uncomfortable. Like you should celebrate that and be proud of yourself. Hey, it's good to be conceited.
Arrogant. Honestly, I'm looking up these different ones. Having or revealing an exaggerated sense of one's own importance or abilities. See, here's the thing. That's bad. So no, it's not because let me tell you. Why? Well, because if you believe, like it's revealing, it's having a revealing an exaggerated sense of one's own importance or abilities. Okay, who's to say what level your importance is? Who's to say what level your abilities are? I don't think that you can achieve your potential if you're not arrogant. Because I think you need to feel this way and you need to believe this way and you need to speak this way higher than you think you can achieve.
I'm a good point there. Yeah.
That's really I'm not a fan of that.
Like you said, writing down every day of the person that you're stepping into, that you're going to become, that your goals, your vision, everything, that's you're seeing it before it's here, if you want to say. And so you kind of have that.
People that have a problem with it, Erica, people that have a problem with it, not to start to cut you off, but people that have a problem with it, they're reflecting upon their own disbelief, their own limitations in their mind, right? Like I got friends, I tell people like, I'm going to be in movies and television. I'm an actor, right? I haven't been in a television show or a movie yet, but I'm going to be. And I tell my friends that know me from growing up, and they're like, yeah, right. Well, what are they talking about? They're not talking about me. They're talking about themselves.
True. Yeah.
And then so when I go do that, because I believe that it will happen, and I go do that, then what are they going to say? Oh, man, I knew he was going to do that. I knew it. I knew that about him. He said it. I told you about him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you for looking up those words. That's so interesting. So when we talk about creating this unstoppableness, if you want to say, to live your unstoppable life, what is your vision of that for people? Like what is that when you help people to be unstoppable? What does that really look like? Like what are you helping people do? What would be a process per se? What are you working with?
Well, get what they want, right? Like really get what they want. Like what is it you want? Go get it. Go make it happen. But be fulfilled. Feel fulfilled. When you wake up in the morning, be excited when you wake up. When you go to bed and lay your head down, you feel like I can lay down because I accomplished something today. Or I assessed my day and I know that I fell short in these areas and tomorrow I got to make better on those. I got to do better on those things. And then, just if you live that way every single day, you don't really have to I don't think you really need to set targets and goals necessarily if you know that you have a target and goal, like outward targets and goals. Because if you know what you're doing every single day is going towards your clear vision and you're going towards it, I think you're good. So I just think it's fulfillment. I think it's waking up excited every day and being able to do that. And then having a great, like taking care of yourself, your family, your work, everything, all the dynamics across all the areas, you're complete.
Yeah. Sounds like a magical life. I think everybody wants that. So that's important. Well, okay. I know building relationships is a big part of your business and you're where you're at because of the relationships you've built in lots of different areas. I know you have a partnership with, if I'm correct, a partnership with Grant Cardone, which a lot of people know that name, I'm sure. How did you build relationships? How did you build because you have a pretty massive social following. You obviously have a successful podcast, you have businesses and whatnot. How did you build these businesses? If somebody is just starting off or again, trying to take it to the next level in their own right, what would you recommend for building relationships and building their personal brand per se?
So first thing is like, I know that most people are playing this game. It's called hide in the bushes or hide in the shadows. And that's the game they play, and they choose to play that game for some reason. Listen, I don't understand why you would want to do that, because everything you need is out there. People have everything we need. And I understood that. And when I decided to get known globally, and if there's aliens, get known by the aliens, I started living that life. And so my thoughts, words, actions, and my environment that I kept all led towards getting known and becoming a celebrity in my space. Again, decision. When I made a decision, I started doing things that led to that. Even before I was validated by anyone else, I felt like I'm a celebrity in my space. I felt that. I feel the feeling. And then the only thing sometimes with that is you get in some places and people aren't understanding of that yet, and they haven't accepted that in their lives yet. So you just have to be careful that you don't need anybody else's validation. You validate yourself. Okay, so that's the first thing, is get out of the shadows. Like, step up out front. Like, just make a decision to be known. Stop calling yourself an introvert. You can say, like, naturally I have tendencies to be an introvert, but I am not an introvert. Like, stop labeling yourself that way. And when people do that, then they do everything to justify being an introvert. That's just the wrong thing to do. And some people say, well, I'm an introvert. It's okay to be an introvert. You can run a business that way. That's bullshit. You need to get out, extrovert, push energy out into the universe, and just be around people. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, I figured out a way to, support people and give to people. As far as Grant goes, I kind of resonated with his message, right? It was what I needed at the time. So I read some of his books, and I'm like, I got to look into this guy. So I started studying him from afar, looking at what he's done, where he's come from, what he did at different stages of his life. And then I started buying his programs and things. And then when I had success with it, I would let their team know. When my business did better, I would let their team know. And I knew they had sales meetings every day, and they would share with the team success stories from their clients. I made sure my name would show up at least once a month. And then I went down to visit, and I built relationships with people inside the organization, so that the whole thought is that I want people talking about me.
Yeah. So
you can have me talking about me and be all over the place on social medias and podcasts and all this. That's one level of omnipresence, right? The next level, and the greatest level, is when other people are talking about you when you're not there. And that's powerful. And I've gotten to that level now, Erica, where I'll have people send me DMs and clips of Clubhouse and on social, and hey, so-and-so is talking about you, and they'll send me something. And I'm like, holy shit, it's working, man. It's working. Because I imagined this one day, that this would happen. I imagined that people will be talking about me. And I don't know, it's not like it's happens like that. It's like a gradual thing. And then before you know it, you're there. And I feel like I'm a role model, and I want to show people how far you can take it if you just decide. And I'm really excited to see how far we can take this thing.
That's awesome. Well, what's so great is the example you gave with Grant Cardone is the actions you took to get more closer to him. And then now you have a business together. So just that, for example, anybody listening, if you have somebody if a mentor that you really admire, there are ways, especially if you have a podcast, it really helps. There's ways to get closer to people, and you could get really creative with it. And you did. You knew he was going to review the people that took the course and whatnot. So that's great advice for anybody that wants to get closer to a mentor or be mentored. So talking about mentors, actually, I would love to hear what has been the greatest advice you've gotten from any of your mentors that you have.
Greatest advice. And there's so much advice, the greatest. Well, something recently that really hit me. I'll tell you the story. Yeah. I had Chuck Garcia, a guy that is pretty awesome. I had him on my show the other day, and I never even knew Chuck until I met him on a connection call. And I invited him on my show, and I just absolutely fell in love with this guy. And, he coaches, or he's a professor, teaches at some Ivy League schools. He's worked on Wall Street. He's worked for Bloomberg and BlackRock. And he came on, and I asked him, I said, do you talk to yourself? And he said, of course I do. I said, well, what's the thing that comes to mind, the number one thing you tell yourself all the time? And he said, the world rewards those with the most inner certainty. And I thought to myself, well, okay, if the world rewards those with the most inner certainty, why would I let anything else inside of me? Why would I let any doubt, fear, anything? Like, why would I do that? Because you're not going to get rewarded for it. So even if I have that stuff creep in, I immediately say, nah, dude, you got to be certain. And when you're in a conversation or a deal or a transaction, negotiation, those with the most certainty win. So I thought to myself, I'm going to carry that message, and then I'm going to make sure that I give certainty to other people. So I think that's the one that's sticking out to me the most right now. Grant's always talking about going bigger, thinking bigger. I think that really comes down to the fact that most people underestimate the amount of effort it takes to achieve something. Mm-hmm. So if you 10x, as he says, the amount of effort you think it's going to take something, you're guaranteed the results of what you originally wanted.
Yeah.
That's good advice. But I want to throw something else in there. Getting known. That's a big one too, right? I'm giving you 3. You asked for 1, but I'm going to give you 3. Cool. I don't mean to take over your show. I do this a lot, Erica. I take over people's shows.
Don't worry. I like it.
This getting known thing. So podcasting has absolutely changed my life. Mm-hmm. I mentioned 700 some podcasts in the last 3 years. I started an agency called People Building Podcast Agency about 6 months or so ago. It's the first business I've had that actually exploded because it's so aligned with my mission. And when you go on podcasts, it's not about the audience, although I love the audience. It's not about that. It's not about the, being interviewed, the confidence that you get, the credibility you get. That's all great. But the connection that you have with the person, because podcast hosts are the most connected people on the planet. And for me, if you're smart, you don't need to sell something on a podcast. You don't need to. You need to relationship build the relationship with the host, find synergies, ways you can help them, ways they can possibly help you. They'll explore that with you as well. And then connections. And when you do that, you make more money because you can start businesses that are worth millions or even billions of dollars. And so for me, I would recommend people get on shows. If you're in business, sales, whatever, you should be, or have a book or you're a speaker, you should be getting on at least 5 shows a month, period. Minimum 5 shows a month. And do it over a consistent long period of time and watch what happens. You can try to prove me wrong. I would welcome that. But I think that's key as well.
I love that. And I love that you recommend that. I have a podcasting course. So for anybody that wants to start a podcast, there's the synergy there. So as you know, I agree with you, like having a podcast is one of the most, it's really gratifying, number one, because you get to connect with amazing people that you admire or that you want to learn from. But it's also like you're having this incredible conversation that is actually like creating a ripple effect because there's people listening in that have, they'll take a nugget from this or that and another. And it's just so fulfilling to connect with people that you like, that you want to have a conversation with about a topic that you enjoy. So I think it's amazing to be a podcast host with building the relationships, and also it's a way to build credibility and whatnot. But also on the other end, like you said, being on other shows, it is definitely, if you're trying to build success, and this could really be in any niche, like you could talk about it on any podcast. There's podcasts about anything really these days. So yeah, I think that's awesome. So I'll definitely plug that in the show notes because I think people should get on more podcasts for sure. Yes.
Well, I'll tell you now, and people can hear this. This is okay. I'd talk about it offline, but hey, look, we should collaborate because we collaborate with people like yourself and we help them and their audience get on shows and we just work together on it and then everybody benefits. So we should talk about that offline. And also, have you seen Billy Madison?
Yeah, of course.
Well, are you related to the lady and the teacher, Miss Lippy?
No, but it's so funny that you say that. No, it's so funny. I think it's the only Lippy that's the only Lippy has ever been heard of. It's actually a made up last name. I never say this. I've said this on one podcast that I have not yet released, and I wasn't even sure if I was going to keep it in, but now I'll just say it again. So my father's side, it's actually Lipschutz. That's where Lippy comes from.
What is it? Say it again.
Lipschutz.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of that last name before, though.
So that's like as Jewish as it gets. So back, his parents changed it because back then it's like you didn't want to have a Jewish last name. So Lippy is a made up last name. So it's kind of funny that it's been in a movie. I've never heard.
So your dad changed the name?
No, his father.
Oh, his father did. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
So
That's cool, man. You should tell that story. It's a good story.
I
Share it
just
with
don't
people.
like saying it's Lipschitz. I'm sorry, but I'm just not a fan of that
Well,
last name.
yeah, but
Like
it's
I'm
not your
okay
last
with
name anymore.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's not your
So
last name anymore.
so
That's
funny.
cool. I like to draw things out that people haven't shared before.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. What was I going to say? So I know you have this. I just want kind of a teaser of it because I think this is really cool. Obviously, this is a personal development podcast, and I really think it's cool what you've created. And it's a new platform that is called Blueprint. Yes, I think it's out right now, if I'm correct. But it's
Yeah.
something new. If you could kind of give a
Hmm.
little teaser about it, because I think people listening in might be interested. So I want people to know about it.
Yeah, Blueprinted, and it's spelled
Blueprint.
BLOO, printed. And you can go check out blueprinted.com. And it's a platform of step by step processes. So instead of a course content where people have long video and you sit there and you turn people into spectators, which are really taters, they don't take action, they just consume, they don't even finish the damn course in the first place. We believe that you need to get people taking action, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's more important than learning. They'll learn on the fly. So we created this platform where people go in that are experts that know how to do something, and they provide a step-by-step process to get people taking action on the first task, the first step. And then they build confidence. We talked about confidence comes from action earlier in the show. Get people taking action. They want to win. They want to continue. And that creates results. So Blueprinted is a platform to create results. Instead of learning through course content, it's more step-by-step guides. And so we have all different content, like different topics. And that's what we created. Now we're working on kind of adding some innovation to it, looking how we can put AI into it somehow. And there's a lot of really exciting things happen. We launched it, and it's working great for what we originally initially thought for it. But I'm just never satisfied. I always want to innovate and add more to things. So that's where we're in the process of right now with it. So you can check that out at blueprinted.com. If you want to be a creator, you can make money by selling your blueprints, or you can go check out the blueprints that are on the site now.
Super awesome. Thank you. I'll definitely include that in show notes. So where can people best find you, of course, and learn more about you? And possibly, I don't know if you work with people one-on-one or do you tell me?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you right now, we have a community that we've built where we meet Mondays and Fridays, 10 a.m. Eastern, and we have an intention on Monday, accountability call on Friday, and we're building unstoppable people, entrepreneurs, business people. That's the focus right now on that. So it's not one-on-one. It's more group, but the group, what I like to do is I like to mentor people, and then so that they become better, and then they help each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's an exponential factor that comes into play. So you can reach me, by the way, on Instagram, Mikey, MikeyCroc, C-Roc, Mikey C-Roc. But actually, I'm so easy to find. Look at me anywhere, message me on any platform. I check all my DMs, and I can help you with whatever if you have a question or just want to connect.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So just to close off and asking my final question. So you might have answered it, but if you were to share a piece of wisdom, a life lesson you've learned along your vast journey, what would be that one piece of wisdom that you just feel everybody needs to hear right now that they should take away and implement into their life?
True greatness comes from unconditional love. And what I mean by that is you can love everyone. And I believe that we are all energy, and I believe we're all connected somehow. So if you can not love someone, or if you hate someone, you're hating yourself. And so it's true greatness comes from being able to love anyone, love everyone, no matter what they're doing, no matter what they say. You don't have to love what they say or what they're doing. But true unconditional love is so powerful. And I truly have experienced this and have committed to this. And it's one of my principles to becoming unstoppable. So I think that's the one I would leave you with.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for that. That's great. I don't think anybody's worded it that way. So thank you for that. Mike C-Roc, this has been amazing. And I just thank you for all you're doing. Thank you for being real and for making it a really interesting podcast episode. And just thank you for all the goodness you're bringing in the world and really helping people become unstoppable. And I know a lot of people, have big goals this year, but there's massive action they need to take. And so I know you're the perfect one to guide them. So thank you for this. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, Eric. I appreciate it.
Yeah.